Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. I'm Kalikaiz. Today I'm going to be going over the decks of the week. We're looking at the Magic Online metagame and what happened in the Pauper leagues. Before we get into it, remember that you can get sideboard guides on patreon.com/Kalikaiz, and you can always get early access to videos on the YouTube membership section. There's lots going on there, trying to be pretty far ahead, so lots of cool stuff to see. I actually just trophied with Demir Teachings, which was pretty sweet. A very awesome video. So hit up the member section if you want to see that. So let's go ahead and get into it. What's been going on in the Magic Online metagame? Well, from this week specifically, Mono Red is looking quite strong with a lot of different options to be playing. Jund Wildfire right behind it. And these Mono Reds are all the different subtypes combined. Jund Wildfire looking to be pretty much a tier 1 deck. Madness Burn pretty much tier 1. I would say, like, personally, I do think that Arcane Tide is the sort of the S tier of the format, in that the best players of Tide are going to be performing extremely highly, and it's something that everybody has to consider in their deck building choices. But did want to cover one thing. So in the past couple of weeks, I was saying that we were seeing a decrease in trophies. Well, that's actually because I broke my sheet. So I had here, when it's summing up the week, it was accidentally not pulling every column. It was pulling just the last 4 columns, which is why we weren't having so many trophies. So I actually had 165, and then 193, and then 182, and this last week 182 again, which is just wild. That's awesome. Weird that it's exactly the same. Definitely weird. But anyway, so if we just do a little quick overview of how the metagame has progressed over the past few weeks. So April 15th, Madness Burn was on top, then Mono Red. Now we see Madness Burn still on top, Elves doing well, Mono Red climbing. Now Mono Red was on top, and Elves still up there, Madness Burn, Jund Wildfire starting to climb. The previous video's week, Mono Red was 18.7% of the metagame. Jund Wildfire in second. Wait, this is not sorted. So let me sort that. 1 second here. It takes just a second. Oh my goodness. I'm all over the place. Okay, back in the game. So Mono Red on top, and then Elves, then Madness Burn, Jund Wildfire. So now, here, this is sorted correctly. I'm not losing my mind. But Mono Red is on top with Jund Wildfire, then Madness Burn. Mono Blue Terror, White Weenie below it. Tide showing up, but not like overwhelming people. I think that it's a deck where you really have to be proficient as a pilot. So that's kind of what's going on. What's funny is Infect, another 3 trophies this week from the same pilot. ICT 95, they've just been crushing people with Infect. It's just unbelievable. We had 2 different variations of Spy, which was the same. I mean, it's the same idea, but we had a 6-land Spy and a 5-land Spy. Poison Storm from Cosmic Charles, and then a bunch of 1-ofs. We're going to get into some of the spicier things that are happening in just a second here. So let me know. Oh yeah, let's see. So I wanted to go ahead and show what it looks like for the Mono Red. And we had 52% ping burn, about 30% rally burn, and 17.6% of this red Madness Burn, which I do believe is the proper way, or the most powerful way to play Madness Burn right now. I mean, not Madness Burn, just Mono Red Burn. I actually picked it up just to try it out yesterday and managed to 5-0. With, I believe, 1 game loss in the entire league. I know that people are kind of on it right now. And we can talk about that as we move through and give a little bit of the history of what's going on with that deck. So I have things organized kind of by spiciness, and also some tech choices. So this Elves by ATAMs, I wanted to show, so some of the decks have been playing a Blue Splash specifically for 2 Distant Melody. This person chose to play 4 Winding Way, 4 Lead the Stampede, and 2 You Meet in a Tavern, which does double duty as a draw spell. It's the same as a Lead the Stampede, but it also can be an overrun. And that allows them to go mono green, so be way more explosive, with 4 Mass Vandals in the main deck. Now, something about Mass Vandal that came up, I listened to the Casting Commons podcast with Teasdale. I can make sure that I link that in the description below, but they were saying that they played Elves and they managed to just dodge Krark-Clan Shaman, not by missing matchups that had Krark-Clan Shaman, but actually by using Mass Vandal to kill the red lands from your opponent. A lot of these decks are not playing untapped red lands, so if you can keep them off of it, since it's sort of just a splash color, it's very difficult for them to actually use their Krark-Clan Shaman. And that also made me remember, of course, a Deadly Dispute has been banned. So the Deadly Dispute ban has been making Krark-Clan Shaman a lot worse due to the way that the mana bases are still constructed in the face of Mass Vandal, which is sort of all coalesced into probably making Elves so good right now. So I just thought that was interesting to think about and see, like, why is Elves doing so well. Also, Elves is obviously good into Mono Blue Terror and High Tide. This other deck here is Mono Red by Jeskai Ephemerate. So I did want to show this. This is them sticking to their guns, continuing to play Goblins. This is not, I wouldn't specifically consider this burn, but they've got 4 Goblin Grenade, 4 Lightning Bolt, 2 Fire Blast, and 3 Highway Robbery as their draw spell of choice, and then just looking to get stuff on the table and bushwhacker your opponent. This Jeskai Ephemerate by Phaetosa, it looks like they made a couple of interesting choices here. So playing Inspiring Overseer, it's a cantrip creature for 3 that ETBs, gains a life, and draw a card. It's kind of medium in my opinion, but it's fine. Does draw them a card. So they're on a little bit more creatures than normal. Normally people are playing 4 Drifter, a couple of like 2 to 3 Archaeomancer, and then 4 Augur Bolus. But this player is playing just 2 Ardent Elementalist. So having Ardent Elementalist allows them to not have to worry as much about having untapped blue lands. And they've got different mana base, a lot more artifact lands. So they have 10 total, and they are playing Galvanic Blast instead of Skred. So that is an interesting choice. I just wanted to point out that they were playing Galvanic Blast. And nothing else too crazy. No Monarch in the main deck. This next list is, the classic familiar shell playing High Tide. So we have 4 High Tides in the deck. And a High Tide can actually give you an infinite combo with just 1 familiar in play, because it cost reduces Ghostly Flicker to just 2 mana. And you're now with 1 High Tide, your island is making 2 mana. I chose to play 7 dual lands here with 9 islands. And then if you have Godpharaoh's Faithful in play and a High Tide, you can make Infinite Life or Infinite Birds with Murmuring Mystic. But people were asking me why not play Merchant Scroll in this deck. Mostly because Merchant Scroll does not find your Sunscape Familiar as a cost reducer. So Ponder and Preordain both find that and find the High Tide, making it a little bit better at that. And then my specifically the counterspell of choice in this version is Foil, 2 foils, which we can use where we tap out to combo and still have a counterspell available. And then after you combo off and draw your deck, now you can just cast it as a straight up counterspell. Here I wanted to show a little bit of changes to the Petitioners list that I hadn't seen. So we have the 4 Glistener Seer we knew about before. Bellowing Crier has made appearances previously, Mass Vandal of course, and Pawn Prophet. And then your 11 Persistent Petitioners, which you can tap 4 untapped advisors to mill player 12 cards. The thing that I'm seeing here is Sibzig Appraiser, which I hadn't seen before. It's a zombie advisor for 2/1 for 3, and it does. Oh, so this is from Tarkir Dragon's Storm or whatever. I still don't know the name of the set. So this is from the Tarkir set, and this is like a bad Seagate Oracle, puts cards into your graveyard, but it actually can be good for you if you put something into the graveyard like a Knot of the Bone or Deep Analysis, and they looks to have cut the Winding Way for the Sibzig Appraiser, which is pretty interesting. So cool to see the Petitioners still getting it done. Now we have a Flickertron from All Eyes on Me. I wanted to point out they have some interesting minor changes. So instead of the 3 crop rotation that Raptor 56 plays, or that I like to play, they're on 2 crop rotations and 3 expedition maps. So that gives them 5 ways to search out their last Tron piece. leaning more heavily on having the expedition map as that option. Some of their one-ofs in the deck include an Abrade for artifacts or killing a creature, and then they have 2 prohibits and 1 unwind, still allowing you to have the unwind plus weather the storm combo in order to have a infinitely damage rolling thunder. And they've cut their previously used murmuring mystics. Other than that, they have 2 refractor for prism. Refractor is amazing in this deck, but I can see why you would want to lean on the prism specifically for mana efficiency. They don't have an infinite, mostly don't have an infinite mana thing going on. Cave, nothing else too crazy. And just pause there for a second. Okay, so High Tide by Raptor56. I didn't mean for that to come up in the same in order there, but Raptor has chosen to play a version of High Tide that has no counterspells in the main deck. They're not playing Muddle the Mixture in the main deck as a counterspell / way to search up your Ideas Unbound. Instead, they have 1 Stream of Thought and 1 Petals of Insight, choosing to play a couple of Flood of Recollection. So Flood of Recollection can return your Stream of Thought if it gets discarded, or you can Stream of Thought yourself, put some stuff back into your deck, and then Flood of Recollection back to the Stream of Thought, giving you kind of the same loop that you can do. Of course, Petals of Insight goes infinite, and Raptor is a fast clicker, so it might as well have the infinite mana situation. And they're playing a couple of Hidden Strings with 4 Reach Through Mists. I found that Hidden Strings is very, very good at transitioning you for, during the combo, but it doesn't kind of make sense to use Flood of Recollection instead of, you know, it's kind of doing double duty. Flood of Recollection also helps bridge the combo because it gives you back your High Tide or your Ideas Unbound or something like that. But so, and it also gets you back the Stream of Thought. So I can definitely understand why he would use that on top of here. Plus you have the Reach Through Miss. So that's a cool innovation. Might have to try that out. But the interesting thing in this specific list is, well, of course, we got 2 Deep Analysis for a little bit of extra card advantage, maybe into something like a Refurbished Familiar or Counterspells. And then we have Augur Bolus and Philology in the sideboard. He specifically said on Blue Sky that these were to block fairies and mono red, and seemed to do an okay job at that. Plus 2 more Deep Analysis for the refurb decks. And I guess maybe like discard decks, which is cool. The next deck I wanted to show a case was a mono red Dredge. This is a very sweet deck. It uses just mountains and then a singleton geothermal bog, which you can get with your Oliphant. They also are playing some cool cards. So you got Street Wraith, that cycles. It's a creature that goes to the graveyard. You can use that in combination with your Stinkweed Imp to draw more cards. Then your Scrapwork Mutt pitches your Stinkweed Imp. You have 4 Faithless Looting, 2 Cathartic Reunion, and then only 3. So 3 Stormshriek Feral, which is a newer card from Tarkir as well. You discard a card to draw 2 cards, and it's always going to go back into the deck, giving you more creatures and more possibilities of using it. Sideboard has Siege Smash. Fire Temper is interesting. Golgari Brown Scale for gaining life. This Revert creature could be a way to pressure your opponent without having to cast cards from the graveyard. And then Fang Dragon as a sweeper. All right. So here is a really cool Madness Burn from Sizors. That's what I'm going to say their name. If you are this player, let me know how to pronounce your name. So they're playing essentially the same Madness Burn as other players, except they have a Gates package of 3 Basilisk Gate, 4 Black Dragon Gate. So they can make their Sneaky Snacker a crazy high-powered attacker. And they are playing a card called Witch's Mark. So it says you can discard a card if you do draw 2 cards, create a Wicked roll attached to 1 target creature you control. The Wicked roll has been a major player in other formats in the mono red, like in Standard and Pioneer. It gives it +1/+1, and when the aura is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses a life. So it makes your Sneaky Snacker into a 3/2 flyer that when it dies, your opponent loses a life. So it makes it hard for them to kill, or makes your Kitchen Imp bigger or your Flame Breather bigger. Yep, that is a neat little change on the mana base. Here we have Gruul Ramp by Force of Mulligan. Gruul Ramp, not too crazy of a deck. It's pretty standard. You're just looking to put Writhing Chrysalis on the table as fast as possible. They are playing Bannerhide, but no Eternal Witness to try to combo with it. Just doing the thing. 2 Ram-throughs in the main deck, using only to play 2 Malevolent Rumbles. But the interesting things in the sideboard are a Shinnin of Life's Roar. So this you can channel and then give maybe a token, this lure effect, and then attacking with everything. So it's great for board stalls. But the other thing here is Sky Shaper, which potentially can beat board stalls. But in my head, I'm thinking that they probably put it here to beat Krark Clan Shaman. So Krark Clan Shaman plus Toxin Analysis, they toxin their Krark, they sacrifice. You just give all your creatures flying. That's not going to hurt them. And then your opponent is out of luck. So that's pretty sweet innovation there for sure. That's a very old card. Don't even know what set it's from. So now let's check out one of the Madness Burn decks. I talked about this, I think, last week, but this one is from Bongo 411. And I would say that this is one of the cleanest looking main decks or cleanest lists that I've seen in a long time. Just straight 4-ofs down the board, except for 2 Fire Blast. And they're choosing to play 4 Epicure, 4 Flame Breather, 4 Thermo, 4 Snacker. So then their spells of choice are Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt, plus 4 Lava Dart, which is a great thing to pitch to your Grab the Prize or your Faithless Looting. They're not playing any other 2 mana draw card spells. I guess just leaning on the Faithless Looting a little bit. And then the sideboard has just some normal stuff with anti-artifacts, anti-blue, raise, and then Relic of Progenitus. I don't like my lands getting destroyed. So now here, I wanted to point out this newer take on Mono White Heroic. I guess this player is not going quite so far into it. Let's pull up the other player that had it. So Laramie is the person that's been trophying with it in leagues. Here we go. So this is their most recent. That's from the 19th, which was this past Monday. And this is looking more like a Bogles deck. They have only 12 creatures. Laguna Band, Armadillo, and Deathblade. So they're all 1-drops. Deathblade Elite is a pretty crazy card because it's sort of a removal spell for the deck. They have 4 Blacksmith skill. They have Ethereal Armor, Hyena Umbra. They're choosing to play Light Wheel Enhancements, which is enchanted permanent gets +1/+1 and has Vigilance. And then you can cast it from your graveyard if you're at the right speed with Start Your Engines from this set. And the Vigilance matters because they've got Sentinel's Eyes 2 here, so they have 8 Vigilance things in order to play Solid Footing, which gives the creature +1/+1. And if it has Vigilance, it assigns combat damage equal to its toughness. Both Laguna Band and Armadillo are X4s, or O4s to start, which just makes Solid Footing really, really strong. They have so many 1-drops. The only 2-drops in their deck are Benevolent Blessing to give your creature protection, or Wedding Invitation to make it unblockable. I just thought that that was a kind of a neat way to play the Mono White Heroic deck, as opposed to the other version of it, which we were seeing, where they're playing more heroic creatures with the Sky Guard specifically. Here's Mono White Aggro. This player chose to play 4 Salt Road Pack Beast, which I thought was kind of sweet. And then Steadfast Unicorn. And they have 12 other 1-drops. So 13 1-drops, 4 Skyfisher, Rafine's Informant, 4 Battle Screech. So that the Salt Road Pack Beast comes out fast. And man, this card is strong when you can play it for 1 mana. It's just so good. So cantripping away. I like that a lot. Here we have Jund Wildfire. And I wanted to point out they are playing a lot of life gain as well, they're doing 2 things here. So you've got Pulse of Marasa for life gain. Crypt Incursion is also life gain, but it also exiles things from the graveyard. And then you have Nile Spellbomb, 2 of in the main deck. So you really have 3 anti-graveyard effects as well as 3 life gain effects, all very strong. And then they also have the Lembus as a life gain effect. So they're doing a lot of double duty there. I don't see anything else in the sideboard of the main deck that I'm really interested in talking about. So here's another mono green Elves. This player is playing 4 Soggy Wildling allowing them to go to 11 forests as the main. And this is also just straight up mono green. So Soggy Wildling, Generous Ent, and then 4 Winding Way, 4 Lead the Stampede. Vitu-Ghazi Inspector was actually pretty solid as a life gain creature. This says collect evidence 6. So let's say you cycle the Generous Ent, then you can collect evidence using just the Generous Ent. And then you have a 2/4 on the ground with a reach that also gained you life, which is a pretty good brick wall against something like fairies or something like potentially the mono red, like aggro decks. Okay, getting spicier. Apis, what are you doing here, man? 6 lands? Playing a 6 land walls combo. Choosing to play Soggy Wildling, Generous Ent, and then land grant as a ways to getting the lands. He's been taking some of the tech from the spy decks, and I've even seen people trying to play walls combo plus spy hybrid, but I haven't seen a 5-0 with that yet, but maybe sometime soon. Okay, here's another list from Sizors. Come on, leave some for the rest of us. They chose to play a Trinket Mage package. So their Affinity deck is playing 4 Refurb, 4 Mirror Enforcer, 3 Karkland Shaman, and then they've got 2 Trinket Mages. This allows them to go down to just 1 Hunter's Blowgun, 1 Campfire, 1 Grim Bauble, which is kind of sweet. They have 4 Galvanic and then no other removal spells in the main deck. Well, I guess they have the Grim Bauble, so it's sort of like having 7 removal spells. And then they've got 10 draw spells, 3 Nile spell bombs. Very cool list. Very, very cool. I know everybody likes some Trinket Mage shenanigans. And then if your Trinket Mage dies, you can get it back with your Blood Fountain, or you can Trinket Mage to get your Blood Fountain, then Blood Fountain your Trinket Mage to get back a Blood Fountain, which is kind of silly. I like that. Okay, getting spicy. So Poison Storm from Cosmic Charles. I don't think I talked about this list, but maybe I did. Let me know if I am repeating myself. It's just really interesting. And then he actually may have had this specific league, but one of his 5-0 leagues is on his channel, Cosmic Charles on YouTube. And I'm going to go over what he had talked about. So he was saying that he really likes the card Focus the Mind, which is draw 3 cards and discard a card, and it costs 2 less to cast if you cast another spell this turn. But he also really likes Merchant Scroll, but Merchant Scroll had been kind of iffy in the past. Now, with Focus the Mind, Merchant Scroll is a 5 mana draw 3, because you can scroll for Focus the Mind and then cast it, which is 5 mana, same as casting Alorian Revealed for hard cast. So that's kind of neat. The draw 3 and then discard 1 of anything you want, which is, you don't necessarily have to discard a land specifically. And then he's playing only 2 Snap and 2 Teach by Example. Teach by Example, when you copy a Vivid Surgeon Insight, is completely insane. Draw 6 cards, proliferate tons of times, just absurd. And then they can scroll for the prologue or something like that. Very neat list. They chose to cut the Everflowing Chalice, and they're playing 17 lands with 4 Thirsting Roots. It looked very strong in his playing of it. I just haven't tried this specific list. So also they're playing Unwind in the sideboard for like mana generation as well as for High Tide. Then Out Cold is a neat one of to tap down some creatures. They got Tangle to tap down creatures as well. Snap, Serene Heart. Pretty sweet. So 3 more lists to look at. This is... All right, here we go. Are there 3 lists? This was from a Pauper challenge, so that doesn't count. We are going to check out Black Red from Alessandro Piracini. So this player, I think they won a Paupergeddon with Jund Glee, and they have their own YouTube channel as well. So I'll have to link that. But they're playing kind of a Pactol Terror Gardens, but it's Pactol Terror Gardens Affinity. So there's 4 Ghast, 4 Terror, 4 Refurb, and 4 Mirror Enforcer. 4 cast down, 2 cast down, and 4 Galvanic Blast as removal spells. And then they're playing 8 draw spells with Fanatical and Reckoner's Bargain. Fanatical Offering is good with Pactol because it makes artifacts. Also just good in the Affinity Shell. You can still have artifacts in play for these cards. Yeah, it's just like red-black control Affinity. It's doing the thing. The Karkland and Toxin is in the sideboard with 4 Duress and 4 Pyros. Wow. Another very clean list. And I wanted to point out this mono blue. It's very tough to say if this was the spiciest list, but it is pretty cool. So this is a mono blue control deck looking to just eventually get a Terror or Spire Golem or Murmuring Mystic into play, which you're going to try to win the game with. But the rest of the deck is built around trying to just counter your opponent out. So they've got Spell Pierce, Counterspell, Snap, and they can use High Tide to power out their big creatures, then cast Rush of Knowledge or Lorien Revealed to draw a ton of cards. The Lorien Revealed only draws 3, but Rush of Knowledge with a Spire Golem or even if you have a Tolarian Terror would be a full refill. You could just draw 7 cards. So that is really cool. And then they have Campfire, which means that once you get to the end game after you've drawn all your cards, you're going to loop the stuff back into your deck and only draw counterspells. Just counterspell your opponent into the ground. I actually got completely destroyed by this one time, so very, very strong deck. Let me know what you thought about the decks of the week, if I missed anything, or if there was something that really stood out to you in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.